This is a Radeon R5 240 1 GB that I bought off of eBay for 75 cents. I got 5 of them and I paid an extra $12 for express shipping to make sure that they got here faster because I didn't want to wait an extra week. I tried throwing it in an old Think Center that I had laying around, but for some reason it was not fitting correctly. I don't know if it was the bracket on the graphics card or if it was just a tight fit, so I was able to get it to fit, but there was no display on the monitor. I decided to try to clean and repaste the graphics card, maybe that will help. The old thermal paste on here did look pretty dirty and it was pretty solid, so I'm glad that I did this. I did some final touches cleaning up the outside of the fan. I had to take off the low profile bracket in order for it to fit into the computer I'm testing. We'll be using an i7-2600 with 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM clocked at 1333 megahertz. It is the next day. I got everything downloaded, got everything set up on this computer, and it's actually the computer from last video, hilariously enough. I tried getting into a Think Center, but the PCIe adapter on the motherboard was not working or something. I tried taking off this piece and seeing if it was getting in the way because it wasn't like fully clipping in all the way and it just wouldn't work. So I have no clue. So it has to do something on the motherboard. I threw into another computer, but in order for me to do that, I'd have to get Windows installed, get that whole system set up, and this was already taking longer than I thought it would. So I just put it in here, downloaded all the games. I think I got the Wi-Fi issue fixed, so it should be good to, we're gonna try running YouTube again at 1080p and 4K. Hopefully it should actually run it this time, even though it's only a 1 GB card instead of a 4 GB. But I also want to say, sorry about the lighting and all that. I'm still getting that figured out because I'm currently moving into my other room right now. And so I'm still in this current setup where the lighting's a bit harsher. And I just got a camera. That's what I'm recording on right now. And all of this footage has been shot on this camera. Unlike I was using my phone to record. Unlike that, the microphone's a bit more finicky, and also the lighting, I can't really adjust it in the recording mode since this is a photography camera technically, so. But I'm doing my best. Hopefully once I get moved into my new setup and into the new room, I can get everything set up and footage should look better because I know it's a bit bright. I might have to do a bit of editing and post-product, but we'll see. Anyways, let's test this computer out, see how well this graphics card runs. I was able to get YouTube running at 1080p with no issues, not a single frame dropped, so I knew I got the Wi-Fi issue fixed. Let's move on to 4K and see how well it does that. 4K seems to be running perfectly fine. Let's move on to the games. Brawlhalla gave a smooth 60 FPS average, maxing out at 61 FPS and only dipping down to 57. This ran really amazingly for given how low the graphics card is. The next game we have up is Don't Starve, and I played this at 1080p normal settings, and this gave the exact same frame rate as Brawlhalla, averaging out at 60 FPS and giving a max of 61 FPS. Next up, we have Far Cry 2 at 1080p high settings. We are averaging 79 FPS and even hitting above 100 FPS. We have Terraria at 1080p normal settings, averaging out at 47 FPS. If you wanted a better experience, I recommend turning the 1080p down to 720p. We have Portal at 1080p high settings. This ran at an average of 58 FPS, which is really playable. There was a couple stutters bringing us down below 30 FPS, but besides that, it went really well. Left 4 Dead 2 ran really well, averaging a 60 FPS limit, with a max of 86 FPS and a minimum of 43. This ran really smooth. Next up, we have Fallout New Vegas at 1080p high settings. This ran an average of 31 FPS, which was playable, and the max of 62 was more than likely because of the menus that were popping up for the DLCs. So I would recommend either playing it at 1080p low or maybe even 720p ultra settings. Here we have GTA 4, our first game at 720p high settings. It's averaging a 36 FPS, maxing out at 44 FPS. It's definitely playable, but there is a bit of stuttering, which could be because of the hard drive or just because of how old these components are. Next up, we have Minecraft Java Edition at 1080p fast settings, 8 to 12 render distance. We're averaging 52 FPS, and we are getting a lot of stuttering that we were getting before when we were generating new chunks. But besides that, this game can run really well if you're playing on survival mode, and I would recommend even turn it down to 720p if you really want to hit the most FPS that you can. I set the FPS limit to 60 so that way I could reduce the stuttering. The next game we have is City Skylines. This game is probably one of the more demanding games on this list, and it ran probably one of the worst on this list. It ran at an average of 24 FPS and hitting a minimum of 2 FPS. And this was at a brand new start of a city. I did not try to test it with a brand new city or with a existing city, I mean. I do not feel like this will hold up well if you're trying to actually build a city and try to go late game. The last game that I tried was CSGO 2 at 720p on the lowest settings. We got maybe 40 FPS at the start, but as soon as I pulled up my bomb and tried planning, my frames were crashing and I could hear people shooting, and that probably is what it was. So I go over and try to see who was shooting and see if that was causing the frame drops, and it was just horrible. This was absolutely unplayable. As soon as I start firing here, look at that. It was unplayable. Now that we have everything tested, I mean, it's good to say that this graphic card works. I'm glad it didn't get ripped off or anything, but you know, it didn't perform as well as I thought it would. And it could just be that this old i7 is performing a bit slower than it would. I plan to put these with 6th and 7th generation i5, so it should perform a little bit better, and they're going to have SSDs, so none of the games should be stuttered or anything, and so it should work as an entry-level gaming PC. But you guys are going to see these graphic cards in the future. It's going to be a little bit different of the price because in that one I'm actually going to include the shipping costs, but since I paid for the extra shipping just to get it here faster, I'm not going to include it in this video because the reason I bought these is because they were 75 cents a piece. So I could have gotten free shipping. It could have taken like a week or two for it to ship out, but I wanted these fast. I need to make a video, and here it is. I mean, it sucks that I wasn't able to put it in the other computer because it was a first generation i5, I believe, and that would have been really cool to test and to see how it holds up. But that's all I have for you guys today. If you like this video, hit that like button down below and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.